Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. So this video is really special to me because this is one of my favorite things to cook, even my favorite thing to eat if I go out to a restaurant. Surf and turf. I love steak and I love seafood. So if you want to see how I made this, keep watching. Okay, so first we're going to start with our roasted garlic mashed potatoes. So for my mashed potatoes, I use golden potatoes, but you can use whatever you like and it'll go along with this recipe. So I'm going to wash them and then I'm going to peel them completely. I don't like any skin on my potatoes, but again, you do what you want in your kitchen. So after you wash and peel your potatoes, you want to cut them. Don't come in my comments trying to be the knife police. I cut my potatoes how I want to cut them and you cut yours how you want to. I cut mine in like 1/2-inch cubes just so they cook a little bit faster. Alright, after you cut up all your potatoes, it's time to boil them. So just to add a little bit more flavor, I cook my potatoes in water and chicken broth, but you can just use water if that's what you like. But if you want it a little bit more flavorful, go ahead and add some chicken broth. Then I'm going to boil my potatoes for about 15 minutes. So now we're going to make our roasted garlic. So I have a head of garlic here and I just want to cut off the top. You don't want to cut too far down, just enough to where you can expose all the garlic in the head. It should look like this when you're done cutting it open. So I'm going to take the head of garlic, put it in a bowl, and then lightly drizzle some olive oil and lightly season it with some salt and pepper. I'm going to put a little bit of water in the bottom of the bowl just so it doesn't burn. Then we're going to microwave in increments of 2 minutes for 6 minutes. Once it comes out, it should look something like this. You should be able to squeeze the cloves out, but you're going to scoop them out with a spoon. Once you're done scooping them out, just take your spoon and mash them up really good. Just like that. In a small pot, I melted some butter, turned off the heat, and then added some heavy cream. Stir that really good until it's all combined, and go check on your potatoes. So by now, your potatoes should be done. So you're just gonna strain them, get all that extra water off, and now we're ready to mash. All right, y'all, this is where we might part ways for a bit. So if you like your mashed potatoes creamy like me, you'll use a stand mixer. But if you like them a little bit lumpy, just get a masher and then you can just mash your potatoes up. They're soft enough. Like I was saying, I like mine really creamy, so we can get that out of here. So you can dump your potatoes into your mixer if that's what you're choosing to use. You don't want them to be too cold. You still want them to be a little warm because they're easier to mash that way. Now go ahead and turn on your mixer. So I turned my mixer on a high setting and just allowed it to mix the potatoes. Occasionally, you want to take your spoon and just scrape the sides of the bowl back into the bottom, just so everything gets mashed evenly. Now you want to pour in your cream and butter. Don't pour it all in at the same time. Just do it little by little until you get the consistency you like. I like this right here, so that's where I'm going to stop. So now you want to season your potatoes. I'm using some garlic powder, salt and pepper. Don't be stingy with the seasoning because we haven't really used any, so at this point they really don't taste like much. After you season, you want to go ahead and stir them up. Y'all, I just love mashed potatoes. I don't know. I mean, I love any kind of potatoes, but mashed potatoes are probably my favorite. Next to French fries. Then mashed potatoes. All right, you're done. On to the next step. So now I have our asparagus. So with asparagus, that bottom part, You don't want to eat that. So what I like to do is just take a stalk and kind of break it at the end, wherever it pops off. That's how you know where it's good at. That's no good. So I take one piece, I line it up with the rest, and then that's where I cut the bottoms off at. The bottom part tastes like a tree. So you want to cut that part off. That's the good part. And get rid of that stuff. So now I'm going to add our asparagus to a bowl. Drizzle some olive oil on it. And then season with some salt and pepper. Once you do that, you just want to toss it around in the bowl. Make sure all of the asparagus is coated really well. And then you can set it to the side until you're ready to cook. So I call this the ultimate surf and turf because not only do we have our steak and jumbo scallops, but we got this guy right here. We're gonna call him Larry the Lobster. Larry was still awake, so I had to try to put him back to sleep. Hold on, y'all. You could just rub him on the head and that'll kind of calm him down a little bit. Keep those rubber bands on the claws though. Now we're gonna season our steak. So you want to generously season with salt and pepper. I really don't like to use too much because that's really all it needs. But don't be stingy with it. We don't waste in this kitchen, so go ahead and get all of that too. I always cook my steak in a cast iron skillet. I don't know any other way to cook it, so that's how I cook it. So you want to put them face down and you want to allow them to cook for about 2 minutes. After about 2 minutes, you can go ahead and flip them over and they should have that nice little sear on top. After another 2 minutes, I like to go ahead and just sear the sides up just so it's all one uniform piece of steak. I love steak, y'all. And with this meal, you can use any kind of cut of steak you want to. It really doesn't matter. And now I'm going to go ahead and add some butter, let that melt, and start to baste our steaks. Sometimes I like to add herbs, but not when I'm doing a small cut of steak like this. Put this in the oven on 400 degrees for about 5 minutes, and then you're done. After about 5 minutes, you'll get 2 steaks that are cooked about medium in the inside. Now we're going to cook our scallops. So the key to this is to have really, really dry scallops in a really, really hot pan. So I put some olive oil in the pan, brought that to a really high heat, and then I'm going to add my scallops. Don't move them once you put them in your pan. I'm going to season on the other side with some salt and pepper and allow them to cook for about 2.5 to 3 minutes. Now it's time to flip. So once you flip your scallops over, you should have that nice sear on top, and that's how you know the rest are ready to flip. Again, once you flip your scallops, you don't want to move them. Just let them cook on that other side. So once you've seared your scallops on the other side, it's time to take them off and move on to your next step. So to another pan, I melted some butter, and then I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of mushrooms. Stir those up really good and just saute them till they're about halfway done. I season my mushrooms with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I'm just going to stir, like I said, until they're about halfway done. Once you get to that point, you can remove them and put them in a separate bowl, but don't drain off the butter. Alright y'all, hear me out. Y'all gonna think I'm crazy, but just add a little bit to your pan, just a little bit. You can use white wine too, but why not just use some Hennessy if you already got some? So you just want to stir it up and get those little bits off the bottom of the pan. See, I told you just to add a little bit. We ain't even add that much. Once you get all those bits off the bottom of your pan, you want to go ahead and add your garlic, about a tablespoon, and continue to stir that up. Make sure your heat is on like medium because you don't want to burn your garlic. Now I'm going to add my heavy cream, about 1/2 cup. and continue to stir. After you've mixed everything together, you just want to allow that to sit and simmer for about 10 minutes. Now don't walk away from it. You want to continue to stir because it's going to start to bubble up, but that's what you want. A good way to know when it's done is to take your spoon, swipe your finger across, and if it does that, it's done. Now we're going to add the rest of your mushrooms back. Stir that up, and your sauce is done. I love to put this on top of my steak and my mashed potatoes. It just tastes so good. I didn't forget about Larry the lobster over there. So I have a large pot with some salted water that I brought almost to a boil. And now we're going to add our lobster. So at this point is when I like to cut the rubber bands off. You don't have to, you can boil them with them, but I just like to cut them off real quick before I drop them in there. And there we go. And don't worry, lobsters don't feel anything, so you can just drop them in there. Go ahead and put your top back on and cook your lobster for about 6 minutes. After about 6 minutes, you'll take your top off and your lobster should be nice and red. You can go ahead and take them out. Hold on y'all, he didn't want to come out. Okay, take your lobster out and put it into an ice bath to stop it from cooking. So after he's cooled off, we want to split them down the middle. So take a large knife, start in the middle and work your way down. Just like a crab, it's going to have all that stuff inside, but that's okay. We're going to clean them out once we cut them open. So cut them all at the head, flip them over, and then do the same to the tail. Wash all that nasty stuff out and move on to the next step. Now at this point, you're going to drizzle some olive oil on your lobster and go ahead and rub it in. And then season with some salt and pepper. Now I don't have a grill, so I'm going to use this grill pan and I'm going to place both half of our lobsters on top. And then you can go ahead and put your asparagus on the bottom. So you want to rotate your asparagus about every 3 minutes, and then after about 7, you can go ahead and flip your lobsters over. They should have some nice little grill marks on top. You don't want to cook them too long because they were already pretty much done after you took them out the water. Again, you want to rotate your asparagus just so they get some nice grill marks on them. And now it's time to take them off. Go ahead and take off your lobster too. So in a bowl, I melted some butter, added some garlic and some parsley, and you're just going to brush that on your lobster. And this is the last step, y'all. Once you do this, you're ready to eat. Alright, and your meal is done. It tastes so good, y'all. I really hope you guys make this and come back and tell me how good it is. But like always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. See you guys next time.